Now, as Sridevi has already mentioned, that the quality attributes generally evaluated by a very clear-cut ICH guidelines, which assesses the possible impact of each attribute on safety and efficacy. And as you have seen during her presentation and also Mahesh's presentation, that product-related variants, process-related impurities, process contaminants, and also the bioassay, which really covers many of the key quality attributes of any biotherapeutic product. Now, why the importance of the standards have come up today? Now, I am putting here two slides, which actually I am acknowledging to NIBSC. The Steve English, who is the director of NIBSC, presented that in this October WHO ECBS meeting, and there we have the other pharmacopoeia such as European Pharmacopoeia, Japanese Pharmacopoeia, and also WHO. And I have noticed a very clear agreement among all these groups about the need of the standards for both biosimilars and vaccines. We know very well that in next 2 to 3 years, a series of first generation recombinant products are coming to the end of patent life. And we know clearly that in Europe already the first monoclonal antibody biosimilar has been launched. And besides that, it's not only in Europe, it's also in Japan and Korea, the different countries where now biosimilars are being gradually coming into the market. So in a scenario like this, where multiple products are coming, especially all these products, that's the major challenge in biologics, are coming with different production process, and which will introduce inevitably the product differences. So it is very important to have common standards. And the most important part I want to mention here, that we need to test the multiple manufacturer samples when we come with a common standard. As I go through our standard development process, you will realize how exactly we are factoring this and trying to come up with a common standard. So the requirement is to choose the right test, ensure that it gives dependable answers, and what the belief is, the performance-based monographs, it's supporting international reference standards to validate performance of key tests, are most important requirement of the day. Now, I want to clarify one thing here regarding the standards of biosimilars. Many times you get, and I saw the people get confused about the pharmacopoeial standards and the standard to establish the biosimilarity. There are two different standards. One is the pharmacopoeial standard, which is the called standard for physicochemical and potency assay, whereas another is the reference product, which is required for biosimilarity assessment. Please note that the two standards in most of the cases are different material, because the assay standard need not to be a clinical standard, whereas it should have a content, their clearly defined content, whereas reference products must be a clinical standard, which is compared in a clinical setup along with the developed biosimilar products. Now, what's happening in the area of vaccine? Now, you have seen in the recent year, there is a tremendous market growth observed in the area of vaccines, especially in the developing countries and emerging market. About 44 producing countries, that means countries where you have the manufacturers who are producing vaccine today. Post 2010, there are 12 new pre-qualified vaccines has come into the picture. Both the uptake and usage of vaccine have increased due to several global vaccine alliances such as Gates Foundation, WHO, UNICEF, and Gavi. Now, all these has created a situation where the affordability of the vaccines are getting increased, especially in the area of developing countries. But the important point is affordability is important, but we should not lose our focus on the quality of the standards, which need to be maintained, especially as Mahesh has clearly mentioned that a vaccine is given to the healthy people. So it is, and especially it is given to the children. So it is very important the quality of the products are very strictly monitored. So what is required there is the requirement is the publicly available monograph and global reference standards. Now, the last slide for my background one, there's the role of compendial standards. Now, what are the role of compendial standards? What it does, it provide independent assessment of identity, quality, strength, and purity of therapeutics. It's allow verification by third party. It integrate the harmonized testing into public standard. And of course, it give you a scope of testing from the production to all the way consumption. That means it's in the market. Now, USP has three different standards, as you can see it here. One is what we called as the vertical standard or monographs. This is the public standards to demonstrate the article meets requirement. This is product specific. To support this, we have a horizontal standard. It supports the monograph, which we call as the general chapter. And to support both of these, we have the physical reference material, which we called as the reference standard. As I go through that, I'm going to talk about both this general chapter area, monograph area, what USP is doing. So first I move to our traditional compendia, which is the USP NF. Here is a snapshot of what is going on in our USP NF. Many of these products are actually under development. So you can see here what we are coming up with different informational chapters, which are more than 1,000, as well as very test-specific chapters, which covers different critical quality attributes for specific therapeutics, which is a monoclonal antibody or a therapeutic protein or a vaccine. We also come up with product-specific monographs, which covers, of course, specific products.